We had a discussion that cross-border investing an element has to do with also with cross-border cultural cooperation. Because when you culturally cooperate, you can there can be a trusted relationship also. So it has to do in the culture and with the people working together. Now there were some best practices, and I must say I was a bit surprised by the whole idea. So Mr. Louis Costa came with the Portuguese best practice about the diaspora business angel network. The whole idea is then that all over the world there are a lot of Portuguese rich people living in different countries, and they want to facilitate that those Portuguese rich people can invest in Portuguese companies in Portugal because they know the language, the culture, and etc. So that's quite interesting. We had the best practice from Euroquity from Gilles de Le Coquin. And that was about a tool via the internet for French, German cross-border investment. He emphasized the importance of the quality of the propositions. He said quality is before everything. When you have quality, the international in your proposition to which you offer, the international business angel will follow and will be interested. So, and the second point he mentioned is the confidence thing. What earlier I called the trusted relationship. It's very important that there is confidence between the two partners. The third best practice was from Russia, and was also very interesting from Mr. Evgeny. Sorry. Okay. I want to say it correctly, of course. Mr. Evgeny Evdokimov. Thank you. And he came with the best practice with the nano centers meeting points in Russia. The whole idea is when you have expert meeting points with a focus on a technology or a market, you facilitate those companies, those startups for growth, and then you have for the same a network for investors to join. Also very interesting. And he also made a remark, and I found it also an eye-opener, that cross-border investment is also about cultural cooperation and not only crossing the border. And I think that was also interesting. Thank you.
Well, Rene, very nice job giving your summary there, but I'd just like to point out that the people who attended Rene's session were the ones who couldn't get into the crowdfunding session. Because let me tell you, it was standing room only. Am I right? Was it standing room only in crowdfunding? No. All 12 chairs were completely occupied. And I was fortunate I had teed up Bill Payne. Do you know Bill Payne, sitting over here next to the camera? He's a friend of mine from the West, and I teed him up with a few questions, and he kind of roughed up some of my panelists at just the right time. So I was fortunate anyway. We talked about both, you might say, the way I think of it, glass half full about crowdfunding. It's fantastic. There's great enthusiasm for crowdfunding, and it's just going to take off. And the flip side, the glass half full, of course, is all the concerns that we have. The opportunities for fraud. I mentioned that technology can change and improve, but human nature doesn't change. So it opens the door, some have said, to rampant fraud. I was at a conference just last month in the United States, the equivalent US version of this conference, and they had a session on crowdfunding. And it was just a coincidence, but that same evening as the conference wound down, I was headed back home to speak at the local chapter, University of California. And I speak each year to this group of engineers, and what I wanted to say to them was, forget whatever projects you're working on now. Start trying to figure out how to game the crowdfunding system as fast as you can, because that would be just an opportunity of a lifetime to find the flaws in crowdfunding. But then I thought they'd never invite me back, so I didn't encourage that. Anyway, we had a lively discussion, and I'm sure it'll work out in the months and weeks ahead. Thank you very much.
Dear friends, I'm Alex Lubichev, and I was running this session dedicated to accelerators and incubators. We had a very lively discussion, roughly 80 people coming to the talk, and 4 panelists on our side. Our panelists were from Russia, from Italy, and from Finland, and the audience came equally from 3 backgrounds: business angels, entrepreneurs, and everyone else. A few interesting takeaways. First is that incubators went virtual these days. It's more about accelerators, fully detached from the real estate component. It's more about smart money, smart advice, and connection to venture capital. Second, the role of government in this story. Our friends from Italy and Finland were a little bit cautious about over-regulation in this space. In Russia, we admit that the government is the key source of funding in early stage, such as grant-making agencies, one of which, Skokov Foundation, is the sponsor of this event. And the last but not least is the quality of the deal flow. That's the question that bothers both incubators and the venture capitalists working with them. We all agree that money is the best metrics of success, money coming from next round of financing and money coming from customers. Thank you.
You've missed the most curious panel discussion we had, even without a moderator in our group, but those who were there have got a lot of information. It was on the public support, the public financial mechanisms. They were in different countries. We had the favor of having Nelson in the panel, so it was a very moderated panel, very nice panel, and we also have the Russian side represented, and I did some talks about the Belgian situation. As a matter of fact, the public support can go on several levels. First of all, very important, create an entrepreneurial environment and support every guy or girl who likes to get an entrepreneur with an innovative project, get them started. Secondly, support business angel groups, business angel networks. Education of business angels is very important. Thirdly, try to get some tax initiatives there, so in the incentivization of business angels to invest their money in startup companies rather than in, for instance, real estate or something like that. Create also co-investment schemes so that not only the business angels are involved in the investment, but also can have leverage through other financing mechanisms, amongst which government money could also be put into companies, or try to get the money, government money to go along with investments of business angels. The takeaways are there that the government should intervene, but shouldn't be on the company side itself. Don't try to get officials to become investment managers or even become entrepreneurs. Try to keep the lines aside, try to get the government involved, but not creating perverse effects or creating distortions of the market. I think that were the major takeaways for the role a government could play in helping business angel groups, business angels, and other co-investors.
Frank, do we have any? There's one last speaker, right? Yeah, there is. Is there anybody here from the breakout session Yandex? Anybody from the breakout session 2 who was in room 5? Anybody here?
I think they all came into the crowdfunding session.
Well, mate, they're still there talking away, aren't they? Thank you very much. Our next keynote speaker, Alexei. Oh. Is Alexei here? He is here. Okay, just one second. I'll just introduce you first. First of all, we've got another keynote speaker here, Alexei Komisarov. Alexei was the winner of the Russian stage of the International Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of Small and Average Business of the Year Awards, that's correct, in 2010. And since June 2011, he's been the head of Department for Science, Industrial Policy and Entrepreneurship of the City of Moscow. So Alexei, you'd like to come up onto the stage? Thank you very much, and ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Alexei Komisarov. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, it's a great challenge for me to make this speech instead of Andrei Sharonov. Well, Andrei is not only a very good economist, but also a great speaker. But unfortunately, due to some unfortunate circumstances, he couldn't participate, and he asked me to give you his apologize for it. And well, to be honest, I don't know what was he going to tell you, but I have no doubt that he should tell something about Moscow, the situation with the economy in Moscow, and well, I'd like to add a few words about what we are going to do with entrepreneurship development and what about our plans for this year. First of all, I'd like to start with some news. I think that most of you really know that, well, Moscow is not a small city, but it's going to much bigger quite soon, from the 1st of July. And now the population of Moscow is about 11 million people, and 11 and a half, and the territory will be much bigger, but the number of people really, not really. And we think that this is a huge opportunity for different businesses to work on this territory and to have new projects and to develop this territory. A few words about budget of Moscow. Is it possible to switch on this screen or not? Okay, thank you. As you can see, the Moscow budget is the second in the world after the New York budget. It's about 50 billion US dollars. The London budget, as far as I remember, is about 20. And unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but the GDP or gross regional product in Moscow is not as high as its budget compared to other cities. I think that there are many reasons for it, and we are not going to discuss all these reasons now. But I think that one of the reasons is that we have not enough small business companies, small enterprises. As you can see from this slide, the share of small business in Moscow gross regional product is just about 1/3 compared to average in the world, which is about 50%, and in some cities like Madrid, it's nearly 80%. And the same situation with the number of people who works in small and medium companies in Moscow, just about well, it's about 30% in the labor market, and maybe another bad news which we had just a couple of months ago is that according to this Innovation Cities research in Europe, Moscow now has place somewhere between 60s and 120s. So last year it was, as far as I remember, 57th or 58th, and we moved down. It's really bad news for us. And there are lots of reasons for it. Again, it's a reduction of people involved in scientific activities, and also, according to experts, it's not enough investors' activities, especially in the seed stage. But maybe enough bad news. We have some good news, and I have no doubt that we have a big potential for Moscow and for entrepreneurship in Moscow. We have the biggest number of universities compared to many other cities, not only in Russia but also in Europe and in the world. And we have the fourth city in the world due to number of graduated students, and we have a huge market for high-tech products. And actually, we have not really bad infrastructure, social infrastructure, and attractive life in Moscow, and so on. There are some numbers of business incubators, technoparks, and some other infrastructure objects in Moscow. Here you can see the special economic zone in Zelenograd, and several technoparks again, and the new territory of innovation development, which was created a couple of years ago, but we just started to work with it, and now we have about 5 companies there, and going to increase this number by the end of this year to 20 companies. Well, there are some information about this economic zone Zelenograd. And what we are going to do this year is to create a special center for innovation activities. And there are some goals which you can see there. The goals with people, with infrastructure, with city, with companies. And we think that we have to combine all activities we have in Moscow and offer this to innovators. But my colleagues are going to tell more about this center in a couple of hours. So I think that you can discuss all details with them about this center. Well, there are some tools which we are going to use there. And here you can see the milestones which are very important for us this year at what we are going to do. The first one is this innovation center I already told about. The second one is public demand procurement for innovative solutions and products. We think it's really important for all this industry. We have a local, let me say, law, Moscow law, that this year Moscow procurement has to have minimum 5% of innovative products. Also, we already launched a co-investment fund for business angels. We just started this program 1 week ago, and again, it's a good sign for this society, for this innovation ecosystem. And the last but not least, it's legislative initiatives. We have a draft law about innovation activities in Moscow, where we defined what incubators mean, what territory of innovation development mean, because before we didn't have it in our law. And we are going to offer some tax reductions and things like that for Moscow, for innovative companies in Moscow. Well, actually, that's all I wanted to say. And to conclude, I'd like to say that, you know, a couple of years ago, Moscow didn't think about any competition with other cities. Now we start to think about it, but I have no doubt that it's time to think about competition for the future. And if we think about it, we have to cooperate, we have to work with business angels, with innovative companies, because without it, it's impossible to compete in the future. And I hope that all of you, or some of you, will help us with it, and you will invest in Russian companies, and we will do together this situation which we saw on one of the slides, the rank of Moscow. We'll do it much better quite soon, in a few years. Thank you, and I'm open to raise any questions if you have. Any question? Yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation. I was wondering, from my experience in Berlin, it seems to be that you really can create innovative potential in a city if there's cheap, flexible office space for young startups in a city. I mean, that was the case in Berlin, where it was so easy to get 200, 300 square meters for low rent. And I know Moscow is a very expensive city, but I was wondering, what do you do there in order to give startups the facilities? I know that some universities are having these incubators where they can do this, but the city of Moscow, that would be interesting. And then second question, maybe, from my experience, is that the Russian IT industry is probably one of the most innovative in the world, but the innovations never leave the Russian language space. Like a lot of the things that are later on made public in the Silicon Valley or in Western Europe, they actually innovated here first, IT security and other stuff. And it's interesting why that, and it seems to be this is like a real potential that a lot of innovations are made here, but don't leave Moscow, don't leave Russia, unfortunately.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. Well, about the first one, we have some business incubators in Moscow, and these incubators, you can rent space for a price which is much less than the normal market price for 3 years. But to be honest, it's not enough, and this procedure is quite difficult. And what we are going to do is to create co-working centers in Moscow to have this access much easier and perhaps for a shorter period of time, because some companies, some startups, they're not sure about how long they're going to create their product and how much space they need. So we would like to offer them as flexible offer as possible. And about your second question, yes, you're right. And we organize, and we are going to organize more special tours to different countries, to Silicon Valley, to exchange this experience and to have access to foreign investors, foreign knowledge, and also we offer foreign experts and foreign companies to Moscow. We are waiting for plug-and-play incubator quite soon, incubator from Silicon Valley. We also discuss this possibility with Technopark from Finland, and we are open for any companies who want to come to Moscow, and I think that it's another way to communicate. Thank you.
Hi. I can. My name is Francisco Banha. I'm the president of Federation Business Angels in Portugal and member of the board, DBAN, and the World Business Angel Association. Congratulations for your effort. Can you talk about the modus operandi of your co-investment fund? Is same Netherlands fund, co-investment fund, or Portuguese co-investment fund, or no?
Well, it's just a new project. We would like to have a kind of competition between business angels and between private investors to choose just some of them, maybe 5 or 10, or I don't know exactly what will be the result. And then we are going to add 2 rubles for each 1 ruble which this business angel invests in a startup, without any due diligence, without going into this project, just with this business angel or private investor which we selected. And of course we will do it in a regular way, and we would like to invite as much private investors as possible. And we just have some limit for 1 team or 1 investor and for 1 project, and that's all. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much, and I hope that together we will make Moscow more innovative, and we'll create lots of new startups and have good climate for investment. Thank you very much.
So all of you know that all the guest speakers and everybody who've been on the panel today, they have their biographies in the booklets that you have. Thank you for that. Also, you all need to know regarding the boat tonight, the awards and the party, you have to be at the boat at 6:35. It will leave 50 minutes later, and we will leave without you. And so you know as well, for information, you'll be on the boat until 10 p.m. and you're not allowed to get off until all the alcohol has been drunk. There you go. We have a short break now, so you'd like to go back into the other room, and we are back here for another panel discussion at 4:15. Thank you.